All right, we are recording. What are we going to be talking about tonight?
All right, people are afraid to charge for honey, and I've been pulling honey down here at my south location. We did about three and a half barrels last week, and we did a couple more a day. And I've got about 150 more hives to pull. So I can post on Facebook that I got or $6 a pound in a barrel. Emails people tell me how crazy stuff for half that. Well, I even decided I wasn't even going to start that. I'm going to start Ross rounds together and put a gallon of honey on it in the springtime on a 5-frame nuke. And I'm going to put 2 supers on it of Ross rounds. And then instead of getting $6 a pound, I'm going to get $25 a pound. And my cost in it would be about 27 to 30 cents on my unit price. So, people like to bully other beekeepers. Well, I can buy it down the road for this price, or I can buy it. What the hell with them? I'm just going to resell it myself. So, that's something people don't think about. And if you don't want to do the Ross rounds, the thing about the Ross rounds, there is an initial investment. If you're going to do it, build your own boxes and buy the frames and the rings separately. You can come out really cheap. Your next option is to do cut comb. Buy some thin surplus and put it in your medium frames and buy a square cutter. Only your bee supply places have it. You can buy a box and find some hardware cloth and let them sit for the rain. They stay per box. If you don't rain them, kind of out or leak out, and they don't care for that too much. That's why Ross Rounds is a seller, because it stays dry and it don't leak out. So I'm down here and ready, kind of build up a bunch of stuff for springtime. Stevens made another 900 nuke boxes, and right now we're looking to get started in January. It's been really nice, 74, 75 today, so the poor people that have that snow there, I feel so move south. Well, I hope someone's got some questions.
No, I guess we got Greg. Where'd he go? There he is. Did we just lose Don? I think we lost Don. Hold on. You there, Don? Oh. I think he's gone.
Oh, I'm not gone. I'm here somewhere.
All right. You cut out for a minute. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, Don, you were talking about undercutting on price there, and it's definitely obviously huge with honey, but also huge when it comes to selling bees. So I just want to encourage folks that are looking to sell bees, whether it's queens or packages or nukes, honey too. You have to do some market research for your area, and don't be afraid to charge that price for a premium product. There's a lot of folks can go and they can buy packaged bees anywhere. They can buy nukes just about anywhere, and you can buy queens anywhere. But the most important thing is, if you do have a premium product, whether it's honey, pork, bees, you name it, there's a market for that. And once you get out there and get established and get started, your customers will be a great advocate for you and that product. Up here in Ohio, you can get nukes for probably as cheap as about $120, even $125, sometimes $115. But what a lot of folks don't understand is a lot of the packages are coming from California, or they're coming from large commercial outfits, where there's not quite as much care given to how the packages or when the packages are shaken out. One great thing that I like about working with Don and Steven is when we go to shake and load up those packages, not only are they pulling queens that they know are laying, but when we go to load those packages up, we're checking to make sure every single queen is moving around, running around the cage. We get them loaded up. And then when we deliver those packages to folks all across the country, we're also doing what Don taught me, and we're shaking that package down verifying that the queen is there and verifying that the customer sees that the queen is running around in the cage. That way, when I hand them that package, the queen is running around, she's moving, she's alive, and that takes a lot of the guesswork out a little bit later. There's a lot of outfits aren't quite like that. You're going to get packages shipped in the mail who have been on the road for 7 or 10 days, and you just don't quite have that detailed touch that you can when you're working with a beekeeper that's delivering them, and they're from a source like Don and Steven, where it's a good premium product to kind of start with. I hope it's not such a big deal this spring if folks are having their packages actually shipped in the mail, but I know a lot of folks who are shipping queens had some trouble this spring and summer with USPS, FedEx, and UPS with the trucks being sanitized. That was murdering an awful lot of bees. With all the COVID thing that's still going on, and it's projected that it's going to continue through next year, obviously, that's also a really big concern. So a premium product has a premium price, and don't be afraid to charge what you have to make it a financially sustainable enterprise for you. Otherwise, you can just not sell stuff and enjoy and not have the hassle and stress of all that. The last thing here is we just put some Black Friday pricing on for some Fat Bee Man packages and some feeder plugs, and we'll be delivering those when we pick them up from Don in Georgia all the way up through Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia. And if you want to get on that route and get good bees, you can go to naturesimagefarm.com, and we'd be happy to help.
You know, another thing too is if people get bees from say a local supplier, they go down there, that local supplier is buying in bulk. And if you get a package shipped, I've had so many people make comments, they hold my package up, they might count 15, 20 bees, not even a quarter of a cup full of dead bees. Where versus the post office, people say, oh, 1 inch or 2 inches of dead bees, that's normal. That is not normal. The least amount of bees in the bottom. I mean, if it gets to where it just covers the bottom, I personally will throw them in one of my nukes, and I will take that little bit of loss, because I believe in giving the customer a really good package, because it helps you in the long run. They will tell people, I didn't have dead bees in there, and it was in good shape. So you might take a picture and show your customer what your packages are looking like. I mean, it's a good selling point.
That's the great thing about these. Everyone does that. Josh is on here. A lot of folks who get packages that we bring up from you, that's the first thing they say is, "Oh my gosh, I bought packages before, but there's hardly any dead bees." And that's a good point you bring up there, Don.
But another thing too is don't be afraid to charge anywhere from minimum $25 to $55 markup, because right now, well, 2 years ago it was $18 to $19 on a 2-pound package for the post office to ship it, and you're going to lose a lot. So if you got a beekeeper delivering, you got hand delivered, and you got a product that's a superior product. So don't be afraid to charge for these bees like that. I mean, it sells itself. I mean, I've got students all over the place, and they're making money at doing it. I mean, even if they don't want to raise the bees, they can make a profit just hauling bees because no one else is doing it.
Okay. Nobody else with questions? Get those hands up, people. Todd, Jeff, come on. Todd's got to have something to report. Come on, Todd.
Oh, I got some. I'm still trying to get my head around wood that's not totally green, but getting some from a mill here that's local. They have it covered for not a long time, but I mean, it's something to work with. I'm just scared of it cupping after I shoot staples in it. I'm just scared of the ends cupping or tearing off this, tearing back from the staples. And I'm using 16 gauge 7/16 crown. I haven't seen it yet, but
you talking about building a package or a queen box?
Just building boxes.
Oh, well, boxes, you can use a 16 gauge and you're not going to hurt nothing.
Well, yeah, no, I'm not worried about that. I'm just worried about, I see you, using your wood miser all the time and you're cutting wood and then, next from my vantage point, what I could see on this end is that, that wood's turned around, cut and put into boxes, but aren't you scared that you're going to get cupping and, twisting
Cupping?
from that wood?
This last wood miser is probably the fourth or fifth wood miser I've owned. I've owned Norwood, I owned a Costco, and I've been building boxes for at least 30, 35 years. And if my students is on here, they can see where I do it. I'll put them on sticks. Maybe if I'm going to build high bodies, I'll put them on sticks for maybe 6 to 7, 8 days. And
Okay.
then I add just a little bit to the length. I get the proper length, which is 19 and an eighth, and then I add the width of the thickness of my hive tool, which is probably a 32nd more. And I don't have that problem. And I saw my wood right at 3/4, and it's probably coming out a hair over,
Yeah.
So if I need to, I can run it through the planer right at 3/4, and I only do one side.
Okay. Well, that's what I'm going to be doing this winter.
So right now we can build a box and we could sell a box right now, a deep high body for $10 and make a whole lot of money. And I was talking to one of my students and he's doing more research. He says, them boxes right now are going about $18, $20.
Yeah.
And bottom boards, we've been selling those at $10. And he said they're $27 right now.
Yeah.
So you can get 12 bottoms out of a sheet of plywood or a Vantec. So, I mean, stop and figure it out. I mean, you make 10 times the money on, and you say you can't make money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'll be doing that this winter. Nothing else to do.
Another thing you're going to run across, and my son asked me, I guess about 5 or 6 years ago, he built a lot of boxes, complete hives, and he bought the frames, put in there. And the customer wanted to paint it. And he said, what should I charge? I said, well, if it was me, you want to charge him $10 a piece. He said, that's pretty high. I says, well, they got to pay for the laziness. I mean, people want service, and the people will pay for that service. And you can get, basically free paint just about everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So don't
I've
be
been
afraid
doing
to
that.
charge for your service.
Well, and I'm just talking about myself. I'm going to be building a lot of boxes for myself. If somebody wants to buy some, and that's great. But I'm just looking to supply myself right now.
Well, now's the time to build because the springtime, it's going to take off really fast.
Yeah.
Greg, I think Greg wanted to add something to that.
Yeah, Todd, I know what your the wheels. I can see the wheels turning there about the green lumber. We have a little sawmill here, and we've been building just about anything with it. The thing about the bee boxes, like Don mentioned, the biggest trick to keeping those boxes squared up is that nailer or that stapler that you already have. Before I finally bit the bullet and did what Don said and got that 7/16, I was just using a regular quarter crown. And that you'll definitely have deeps that will start to splay out where the side meets the end there. It'll start to peel out a little bit if you just use the quarter crowns. But what's crazy is even after that pine had sat and I had, it gets so bad where it'll create its own entrance. But you can take that 7/16, take that in the shop, and just with that one staple, it'll suck that rascal right back in there and be good to go. And I don't use any glue or anything on my boxes either. And on the deeps, though, I haven't had a single problem at all with wet. And I'm using like real green. It's so green where you're grabbing those sideboards and they're almost sticking to your hand. The sap is still running that hard. And when you go to run it through a planer, you have just a juicy pile of sawdust where you can squeeze it and almost wring it out. And I'm telling you, pine is going to run more when you cut those. It's going to shrink more in the length on some of those cuts. And like Don said, you just make them a little bit longer, make them a little bit wider. And that's another trick. Don, once you get to his place, you'll see if you make your your sides just a hair deeper, go ahead and do what Don does and assemble your box upside down to where your frame rest is, you know, facing down, so your top is perfectly flush. If you want to, just stack them up, if you're worried about them drying. But the big secret is no matter what, sometimes whether it's how you go to square them up on the table saw or a jig, you'll sometimes have a little bit of proud edges or some ledging, just a hair. If you make those a little bit deeper, then you can zip them right through the table saw and true them up perfect. And then those boxes won't wobble, they won't rock. But if you leave just a little bit extra, you know, next year or the year after, if something else, you know, if they start to warp or something on you, you can do what Don does and just run them right back to the table saw and true them up, rather than making them the true size you want and not having any extra room, a little wiggle room there. So I wouldn't worry about it.
All right, cool.
You probably heard me over the time talking about, I have some boxes that are probably 20, 30 years old. I show some of those boxes to Steve has been in here, and I can date them because I stopped branding my numbers on them in 27, 28 years ago. And I still have a few of them left. And the worst thing about it is over time, the box actually gets shorter because it's going to cup or it's going to bow a little bit. And if you just shave it on the table saw, you true it up, you get more service out of it. But once they get too small or you pick them up wrong, the box has handles, but people like to pick them up endwise where the rabbet is, where the frame rest is, and then they snap that piece off, and now you got a box you can't use. Well, I put those boxes to the side, and actually in the next 3 weeks, I'm cutting that frame rest off so it's flush there with no rabbet joint. And the boxes that you make for Ross rounds, they're shorter and they're a little bit narrower or in lengthwise. So you can recycle all that stuff. If boxes got an inch or two rod on the bottom, a deep box, I cut them at 7 inches and make medians out of it. And then from there, I cut them down again, make feeders or make something else out of them. You can even make sugar shims out of them.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Don.
Okay.
Okay, over to Billy. Go ahead, Billy.
Hey, Don, I'm down here in Texas, close to Steve Dunn. I got a question for you. I just started in May. I started with one 10-frame hive. I built it to 15 because I got tinkeritis and I had to get more hives. But my question is, I haven't been through the normal spring here, so I'm wondering how fast I can double this coming spring. I can already make my own queens and all that. So
if you can make your own queens and you got 15 boxes now,
yes,
well, I'd have 75 or 100 boxes built before spring.
I'm working on that now.
And you might not even have enough of that number there. If you follow the techniques that I'm teaching out here, just cutting cells out, I mean, you will fill some boxes mighty fast.
Oh yeah, I've already done that. I've also grafted. So my question is, when I start splitting, how fast can they grow? Is it 3 to 4 weeks time frame that I can double that?
Well, it depends on how you're doing it. If you have good resource hives, once you get a queen in your laying, you pull one frame from 2 hives or 3 different hives and boost it up. That way you're turning in 7 to 10 days, rather than sit waiting for brood to hatch out and build it that way.
Okay, so that's what I'm doing. I'm building 50 double nukes for raising queens. Building these 15 that I have now, I'm gonna make those all resource hives, and then start building from there. That sound like a good plan to go with?
Yeah, I mean, you got to start somewhere, and that's a good place to start from. See, right now, we got our southern yard. I've got 250 or 280 that are in double deeps, and those are my spring shaken boxes. So I could go in there and shake 2-3 packages a week out of there and not even hurt them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Jeff, did you have something to report?
I had a question on where I'm in the recipient normally of packages. Has anybody recommended like giving them an oxy treatment before you let them out of the package. You know, you can put them in the box, so usually they fit right in the box.
I wouldn't recommend it personally. I mean, there's
Just
people
curious.
that do stuff like that, but I wouldn't recommend it
Okay, okay.
because if you're getting it from just about any reputable bee supplier, they shake so many packages, they're not likely to have mites. Now, if you buy them from a backyard beekeeper that's not selling a lot, not splitting
Right.
a lot,
Mhm.
then you might have a problem.
Okay,
And if you're worried about them, the most I would do is maybe take a quarter of a cup of powder sugar, dust each side of the package, and just kind of roll them a little bit in it.
mhm,
That, you know, that's more than enough.
mhm. Yeah, okay. That's the only question I had. I was just curious about that.
People over worry about the little things, but it's just like people has been posting on Facebook about different breeders and stuff like this. And I'm not going to sit here and cut some other breeder down. I just tell people, do your research, check a person out. If they got good reports, then, you know, do that. A lot of times people take your money and hold it and can't supply the bees.
No, I mean, basically the only challenge I've run into on that is that I might get a package or two that are, the queens are not really mated. And of course, you don't discover that until probably a couple weeks into it.
You can discover that fast if, just like what you just said, and you
Mhm.
get on these different chats or Facebook and ask people where you buy your bees. What's, you know, you have good luck with them, you know, any problems?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what people should do. I personally stopped advertising in 1970, and I can't keep up. I send business to students. I mean, if you do good work, you're going to have all the business you need.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay. Speaking of new students, Melissa, go ahead.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Don. How's it going?
It's a good question tonight.
I got a couple, I think. So I made myself a bunch of queen cups, and I've been cutting mini nuke boxes, mini mating nukes.
Mhm.
And I was thinking about in the springtime when I start doing my grafting, first of all, they say around here in the Midwest to wait for the dandelions to bloom, so there's some forage out there. Would you agree with that, or do you still say red maples up Chicagoland area?
It depends on the amount of stock you got. Down here, I use red maples because that is a honey flow. That's your nectar supply. You can artificially do the pollen substitute, you know, but the main thing that you're probably overlooking is no matter how good you graft or anything else, you look in that box, if you don't have enough drones, you're not going to get no mating.
Right. And so if I have enough drones and I get my mating and I'm going to take bees out of other hives to charge these mini mating nukes, how do I keep the bees in the new hive? Do I lock them in for a while?
Well, did you notice some of my mating boxes in my 5-frame boxes have a little tooth square with a thumbtack in it?
What
It's like a
square?
little door. Yeah, it's a little square piece of hardware cloth over the hole. That way
Yeah.
you can move it up, you know, when they want to get out, close it down. You can go out there in a day or two and just lift it up. And I always tell the students when you lift it up, take your hive to it and tap the thumbtack, because after you move it a few times, if it gets loose and you're not noticing it, if it's a hot day, the bees are cooped up in there. And if you start running several hundred hives and you don't get back and check it, and the sun's on that nuke for a day or two, because things get away from you in commercial operations. You think you're going to keep up with it, and you've got very good intentions. You pull a frame, forget to put a frame back, I'll get back to it. And what happens when you do get back to it, you got comb from the lid. Happens to everybody. It happens to me a lot of times because you got so much on your mind in a commercial yard.
So are you saying to keep them in for a day or two?
I would.
Okay.
Yep. That way they
And
get
then-
reoriented in the box.
Okay. And then I got one more question. I was using scrap wood as you recommended to build the frames for the mini mating nukes. And of course, with scrap wood, there's some variation. And we talked about the top bars ranging from 3/4 to 1 inch, and for various reasons. But how narrow can I go with those and it'd still be okay? I got some like 1/2 and 5/8.
Well, I made a bunch of them for years at 3/4 inch for the top bar wide. And I done away with that and went to 1 inch strictly because I teach. And with that little dado insert or blade insert, if you get 3/4 and if you don't hit it dead center, it's liable to turn and kicks back on you. With the 1 inch and you're running against your fence there, it's more stable and it's easier to build. And you just run the sides 3/4 too. But as far as variation, I try to preach to my students, if you're going to make them 3/4, make them 3/4. You're going to make them 1 inch, make them 1 inch. Stay with one size. If it doesn't meet that requirement, throw it in the scrap pile. Keep everything uniform.
Okay.
And
So
then
not less than 3/4, right?
you want to make them, well, you have to decide what is comfortable for you to work with. And just
Well-
starting out, I would go with 1 inch wide. You're going to have tons of scrap, drops off all your boards and stuff. And if you got your web page up, take some nice pictures of your cell cups and put it on your web page. You can sell them 10 to 15 cents a piece. Natural cell cups.
Yeah, I got a peanut jar full of them.
And, you could say, if you're going to have a surplus amount of ripe queen cells, we sell them $5. And there's a lot of places that are $7 to $10. So the market is out there. And if you don't have competition around you, mention it at a couple bee clubs, get on Facebook. And there's a lot of beekeepers who would much rather have a ripe queen cell than just to walk away and wait 21 days, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and find out that queen didn't take. There's a lot of them little markets out there a lot of people overlook.
And I said it was my last question, but I thought of another one. You cut the groove down the middle so you can make 2 frames in each side, right? So you could separate it with that divider piece.
Right. You just kind of,
You ever go bigger than the 2 frames for the mini mating nukes?
I like to run 3 in mine with a feeder. If you don't want to put a feeder, run 4 frames and drill a hole and put like a Powerade bottle. Whatever kind of bottles that you have a lot of. Coke bottles, you can get them all over, but Coke bottles disintegrate. They get, the sun hits them and then they disintegrate. Powerade bottles will last you 2 or 3 years.
Well,
So,
okay, so 4 frames, but Stephen put the groove to make what, 2 on each side, right? Or was
Well,
that 2 at a feed?
you remember when you was down here, I said, I did that way back down south. And the reason I got away with it, and I explained that to you,
I
is
remember.
Steve is bullheaded and he has to learn this stuff himself. The bees are going to come back and they're going to migrate around. You're
Cool, you
never
just-
going to put both queens at the same time unless you have too many boxes. If you
You
have
just
too many
answered my
boxes,
question. Don't cut the
I
groove
didn't
down the
answer
middle.
your question.
Don't cut
Well,
the
Stephen
groove.
put down, he's putting 2 on each side with a feeder. Then he's putting
Okay.
cloth across the top.
Okay,
When you was down here, I said there's a lot of ways to skin a cat in beekeeping, and you have to do what the best way suits you.
thank you very much, Don.
Okay.
All right. No other questions? Come on, people. Dennis, you're up next. What do you got for us, Dennis?
We haven't heard from Dennis in a while.
You must be busy.
Working my tail off what I'm doing. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have all I've been doing right now, working in the basement, more boxes. I'm gonna try something different this year. I made some 10 frame boxes, put a divider in them, and then that way I can maybe combine them during the winter to a full size deep. But we're gonna play around with that a little bit. I don't know if that'll work or not, but I like playing around with it. That'd give me 3 frames or 4 frames on each side, depends on whether you put a feeder on it or not.
Mhm.
But No, I'm just that guy from Texas. Just keep building. That's all I can tell him. Build what you can money wise, but I sold enough that my resource highs were my problem. So last year I just concentrated on making all of them. I want a resource high for every nuke I sell. I've changed my mind. I want to get the big numbers up, and I can always make my nukes out of them. But that's all I'm doing. Just and 2 or 3 other jobs.
Remember what, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, we was talking on a chat and you said you had more than enough boxes.
Yeah. My wife says I always jump in and just go hog wild. I did.
You know, you're a fine example of what people ask me. Well, I don't know whether I can sell bees. You have the bees, you can sell them.
Yeah, I have no problem. I'm gearing up more for queens this year. I couldn't keep up last year. Hadn't got too many orders for packages this year. Got quite a few for nukes, but I'm holding them back. I want to get up one more year, and then I can go hard and not hurt myself. But
it's hard to do that.
If I'm 62, I'll get it up big enough so one of these young guys can buy me out. I get too old by the time I get big enough. Greg says, I'll take him.
I've never had more bees than I could sell. I mean, that's what I hear a lot of bee clubs. Well, we can't sell our bees. Well, I've never had that problem.
No, I've never had any problem. I got quite a bit more competition up here than I realized. And then once they see all the boxes, got about 175 here at the yard right off the highway, and everybody wants to start one now. And they're buying bees, and you go down the road and their 50s now down to 2. They're coming back. They don't treat, got all this kind of stuff going on. But most of my main business is out of state.
Well, there's a lot of people, they don't understand, it's hard to tell people, no, you don't have bees for sale. And if you can, get your yard going, try to buy packages, and you can make money off them packages and put some packages in your own yard. Get your numbers up before you start taking them orders.
Yeah, that's what I did the first year.
E's been doing these chats for a long time, and we always say we don't take our orders to January. Well, I've already got probably a good 500 nukes pre-sold and probably 1,000, 1,500 packages pre-sold.
Yeah.
So, I mean, get those orders in, get them out,
Just building up is what I'm doing. Trying to get built up, then when I can turn loose, I won't have to turn anybody down. But and building boxes. I can't find anybody that'll come in and just build boxes. If I can find a youngster that needs to learn something.
Yeah. It's hard to do.
Yeah. And you're better at Huck Finn than I am.
You might try FFA. They do the future farmers thing. Boy Scouts, sometimes you get one, sometimes you can't. I mean, kids nowadays just want to play games.
I hear you. I hear you. But that's all I'm doing. It's working out pretty good. So.
Good. All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Dennis.
All right.
Over to Billy. Go ahead, Billy.
Hey, I want to say thanks, Dennis. I've watched enough of y'all's videos to know I need to build about 150 boxes before next spring. But back to Melissa's question on that nuke. That's what I'm using for the mating nukes is I'm putting the divider down the center of them, putting a opening on each end, but using a separated bottom to where I can separate the box and close off one end and use it as a regular nuke. Is that not a good plan to use? Should I use another mating nuke?
If you're going with the minis, it's not a good idea. But if you're going with a 10 frame or an 8 frame with a divider in it, that'd be a good idea there.
No, I'm using a 5-frame nuke.
A regular 5-frame? Yeah, you can do that with 2 frames in each side with opposing entrances. Yeah, you can do that.
Okay, that's what I've been utilizing. So it's been working. So, okay, appreciate it.
Okay. Okay, we're stuck again. No other questions.
Hey, Billy, those split nukes there, there seems to be, well, not really a blanket statement, I'm not too proud to admit it's primarily me. The issue with the making the queens, versus the little mating, the split nukes versus going to the mini mating boxes. I've slowly started to switch to get to those mini mating nukes. But what you've maybe heard Don, he's probably mentioned several times on the chats, but it's not really until you go to his yard till you kind of get the real, the full perspective on that. The reason I think a lot of folks should start with those 5-frame nukes split in half is it's a lot less equipment building you have to do. You don't have to have the specialized frames, or the little boxes. Unless you're already an experienced beekeeper, it can be it's already tricky enough to get on top of the timing, on the queens in the 5-frame box. But as Don could probably speak to, when you get to those mating nukes, you talk about fast and furious. If you're not on top of those boxes, and Don and Steven say it, 2 or 3 times a week to feed, to maintain, to move things around, it doesn't take long, and they can fill that box out, not be happy, and abscond, and then you've lost everything out of that little box. As we've built our yard up and have built the queen side of our yard up, the 5-frame boxes have been nice because I can just have the same frame that I can pull out of other boxes, to support that. Eventually you'll get to the point though where you can't build things fast enough, and you start to put a little bit more time dedicate to the queens. Then you can go to those, the mini mating nukes. So just keep that in mind as you grow. We just put a podcast out and talked about it, but you can real easily get to burnout really fast because Don teaches you how to make the bees and the queens. And at first you're like, well, okay, he says it, maybe it's true. Well, next thing you know, you don't have enough boxes, you don't have enough equipment. You can make all the bees in the world, but then you have to maintain it. And then that's when you can kind of start slapping your head against a brick wall, when you start to lose on that investment, because bees are either absconding or swarming or things are happening. So, as you build your bee yard there, just keep that in mind. If whatever you build, you also have to maintain it and feed it. Otherwise that rascal will just break off the chain and bite you right in the butt there. But like I said, I'm not too proud to admit it. It's bit me in the butt more times than I care to say. So just keep that in mind. Don, what he teaches is so good that you just can't build anything fast enough, and there just never seems to be enough time to get everything in motion. But a couple of those things are going to eat up even more of your time. And that's when you get into making queens, especially when you need to get in there 2 or 3 times a week on those small boxes. Just not deterring you at all from it. I love them. That's what I'm moving to as well. But they just take an exorbitant amount of time. And if you have it, great. So just wanted to pass that along. Just keep that in the back of your mind there.
Yeah, well, that's what I was looking at doing, is keeping all the frames the same to where I can utilize them through any box that I have, and building the yard from there. Now, I've been through all that you just talked about this whole summer. This whole summer was my learning period. I've lost swarms, absconded hives. I've caught swarms. It's been a whole gambit of all of it. So it's been a blast, but it's got me hooked. So I'm just trying to get my thoughts together to where I got a plan for the spring, because using Don's knowledge, because I've watched all his videos, all of his chats. That's what I've done this whole summer and learned all this. And I just chose to stay with a 5-frame nuke, but the mating nukes, I was going to make a 5-frame with the double on each side, and utilize that for my mating nukes, build the queens in the spring. Now, my question would be the drones. I mean, here in Texas, we have pretty mild winter, so I still have drones in my hives now, but and I've still got queens being mated. But comes early spring, do I need to put a drone cone in that hive to get more drones populated? Will they do it that early?
Well, you can use drone comb, but being where you're at, I think I would try to get a sound crazy package of drones. That's, you don't have to worry about Africanized we've actually sell packages. People like them put through a queen excluder, so they got about 90 to 95% drones in there and very few workers in there. And they use them for mating yards, because if you're in an area where there's Africanized bees, you're just going to repopulate from what's existing out there. And your Africanized bees, I'm not that smart, but the people at the college just say the Africanized bees can fly faster. So, if you got a good gentle queen in there and you got a Africanized drone that's going to mate with her, then pretty soon you start losing your genetic pool there. So that's why you hear me talking about every year or 2 years, 3 years. Right now, Jerry was working this year with his shirt off, just bare skin out there in the hives working them. So when he says they're getting a little bit mean, or, we work in our hives and they feel like they're getting mean, then we start bringing some more genetics in. And that's another thing. Do your research, talk to other people, and try to trust the ones that you're talking to. Some people blow a lot of smoke. There's people that if they're selling their queens for $5, they got a reputation. I wouldn't take them for $5 a piece. I mean, I don't want that genetics in my yard because it takes a long time to breed it back out.
Right. So you can buy packaged drones.
Yep. I mean, people will laugh about it if you tell them about it, but who's going to pay, $90 for a package of drones? But if you're in the mating business, make queens, you get good queens. But somebody's wanting to make honey, well, they ain't making honey because they're drones.
Right. So do y'all sell packaged drones?
Get with Ron is up by you, I believe. He's coming down in spring. He's picking up 300 or 400 packages. Have him pick up a package of drones for you.
Who is that?
Ron.
Okay.
He's up northern part. Ron the farmer. I don't have his last name in front of me, but Kelly's coming over, and
yeah, they're a little north of me, and Steve Dunn is right here by me, so that's who I dealt with Steve. But
well, Steve might be coming over. Ron's somewhere close to him up there.
Okay. All right, I'll touch base with him. Appreciate it.
All right.
Okay. Dennis, go ahead. You got on mute, Dennis.
There's always something an old man's got to figure out. The biggest thing is help me sell the queens. I got about 150 of them in my yard. That's where I tend to the queens. And it's been really enjoyable to go out there, and I don't go without a shirt, but I'll go with a pretty good tank top that's loose, because sometimes a bee get up on my sleeve, and 9 times out of 10 I'm not wearing a veil or nothing, and people just shake their head at me, but they're coming by to get the queen. Now there'll be moments where I'll drop a frame, then I'll be hightailing it for something. I've done that a couple times, but overall it sells. They just stop and look on the side of the road watching you out there working with hardly any stuff on them. Pretty soon they want to buy queens.
Mm-hmm.
But I put a washer system on my boxes. And if I'm going to get ready to go out there, it's going to be 50 degrees Monday. I'm going to go out and double check on some of them. If they fly up, fly back down, which sometimes they do, that old proppers got the lid tight, I'll put a green washer on it. If they come up and try to bang me, I'll put a different color. And if they really get after me, I cold that where first chance I get to get another queen. I don't want to put up anything that's mean. And that's just my way to be able to look, say, here's something's got to be queen, requeen, and this and that. And works for me. So if you're down in Texas and you get a mean one, now that don't mean there's something, you know how that goes. Might be something aggravating them once. You might give it a couple tries at it, but most generally, the only time I wear a veil is if you've got that many hives in a yard. Sometimes there are millions of bees in the air. I'm working them, but it sells. I've had good luck with them. They're driving me crazy.
Well, that there is the next thing. People, they start getting busy and they carry phone. You hear me say all the time, I don't carry phone. If you're out there on a phone, you're going to spend 10, 20 minutes, half an hour. It's crazy, especially when it's time and you need to run several hundred boxes. And if you got 100 queens going out that afternoon, you got to be moving along. So you've got to get things to where everything's, like clockwork, and get your hives up off the ground. I see too many people running them too low to the ground, and by 11 o'clock catching queens, you got a backache. So try to get them up stand a block up if you have to. Stand them endwise. Get them up at least knee high, so you don't have to bend so far.
Yeah, I got 2 bricks under mine. That gets them up just about right.
Yeah.
And it works for me.
Yeah.
Now, I've had to change stands. I've had some that lean and start to fall over. My ground's pretty fertile here, so I don't have any good clay. And I'll have to show a picture on the website one of these days. I eventually went out there and I put 16 rows, sunk them in the ground and cemented it and built. That way my posts are solid. Then I put my stands on. Under all my stands, I got greenhouse paper, carpet, whatever you call it. So when I did that, most of my beetles quit multiplying as quick. They hit that hot paper and it looks nice. I got the redwood stuff underneath of it. Looks, nice from the road. Now my out yards are looking a lot different, but ones close to the house is better.
Since you started in beekeeping, how much advertising had you have to do to get to where you're at right now?
I made 2 different times an advertisement on Craigslist.
Mm-hmm.
That got me some out-of-staters. And then I put a card or 2. Dedant up at Hamilton let me put a card up there. And they've sent some people, and I ought not open my mouth, but I've got some business coming from that direction. Might be able to supply something. But basically, I haven't done very much advertisement. I'm right on the highway. I got a 4x8 billboard I'll be putting up. It's a nice, catchy little thing with my granddaughter pointing at a queen. Advertising tame bees. And Ben's, I'm on a junction there, word of mouth. And so far I haven't had but one little complaint, and the queen didn't quite perform right. And I replaced the queen because I know them real good. The rest of them are tickled death with your queens. And the packet nukes I sell, I give them plenty of bees. So when they leave here, they better put them in a bigger box or they're going to swarm pretty quick. I figure if you treat them right, they'll come back. My return customer is what's building me up. I'll pick a new one up every now and then, but it's a new bee clubs, Illinois and Iowa is coming down, and that's all I need.
That's what I try to promote, and I try to teach that to my students. And I mention a lot of times to the students, look at the nuke, because I let my students sell the nukes right out of my yard so they get used to dealing with a customer and presenting the box to the customer. And I tell them all the time, look at it. If you feel there's something wrong with it and you wouldn't buy it, then don't sell it to the customer. And if
they come in fully suited and I haven't got a suit or a veil on, I'll go out and open up the nuke. And after I had one guy come in, I guess he got 15 nukes. And by the time I got 5 down through, he shed his suit because it gets pretty warm here sometimes. And that silly queen would be always on the outside frame, the opposite one we were trying to find her to show her the queen's good. We have to chase through the whole box, but they stayed nice and calm. And it's amazing, but it's been interesting. It gives me something. I'm hit Social Security this year, so I got a little bit more time.
Maybe.
And every day I've got to be in some yard, rain, sleet, or shine sometimes when it comes to that, the old saying, but
we're coming up right now on December, and I was talking to Stephen and my son-in-law. I said, we only got about, 5 to 6 weeks, and we have to start setting the yards up again. So time starts flying. And, that'll be mid-January. We start putting bees in the 1st of February.
Well, I got frost and snow coming in for the next week or 2, and it's going to stay that way for a while. So all I got to do is make sure they was ready to go. This is my rest time if I was not needing boxes.
I wish I had some rest time. We're building constantly. We never could catch up.
I hate the frames. I hate putting frames together. And I'm trying to get a better deal buying a pallet full. I just bought a pallet full of boxes from Man Lake. They had a sale, and yes, I could beat the price building them myself. But I had it. They brought it in, dropped it off with 18-wheeler, and I put them all together. Time's what's eating me up.
I preach that all the time. That's why, I like to build my stuff, but Stephen, he bought, half a tractor trailer load of frames, already put together with the plastic foundation in them, And so he's getting ready to order, another bunch. It's the time that put them together, and you could be making more money doing something else.
Well, I'll end up probably doing that, but I'm still putting them together. But if I had a big shop, I work in a little 10 by 12 in the basement. And it's a good thing the wife doesn't go down there very often because I get a mess going after a bit. But I need a bigger shop to work in. But hey, it is what it is.
Next thing, get you a sawmill.
I like to find someone down south, a rough cut pine. I'd rather come and get it and saw it.
You want to come over to my place and get it? Let me know how much
you got
want.
Rough cut pine?
Well, it's not rough cut. I right off the saw. It gets put together in bee boxes.
Well, we're almost at this point. I need a break. It gets too cold. I'll be calling you.
Well, I saw my stuff at 8.5 to 9 foot lengths, and I'm getting for 1 by 10. I get $5 a board. Clear, knotty, whatever. If you don't want the knots, you stack it.
Well, that's good enough.
Yeah.
We get tired of this weather one of these days. I'll holler at you ahead of time, a week or two ahead of time, and might pick up some syrup while I'm down there.
Yep. Well, now you have to deal with Steven. He handles
That's
that.
Fine. Okay.
There's several students been over here, got it already, but we're going to probably have to order some more.
Well, sugar up here, their toilet paper and the sugar's disappeared again.
Huh.
And this COVID in this county has been all over the place. I had it probably 2 weeks ago. Still getting over it a little bit, but it sure beats the flu. It ain't what all they say it's cracked up to be, but it sure tightened things up as far as buying things.
Well, I noticed there's more people getting into it as a hobby, like, two hives, 4 hives because of the lockdown.
That's another thing. You just jogged my memory. What are you guys selling a full single 10 frame, 8 frame hive for?
Well, we try not to sell full hives. We sell nukes. We either sell spring nukes or overwintered nukes.
I'm trying not, but I got a guy pressuring me, and I figured I might as well
put the price up there. The last one I sold was a single 8 frame, and I told the guy, I said I'd have to have $450. He said fine.
Yeah, that's what I was asking here, and he didn't seem too bad.
Yeah.
You know how it is. Oh, that cheap? I wish I had jacked another $100 on it. There'd have been some frames.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at an 8 frame, that's 3 splits, 4 splits.
Yeah. I'm not going to do very many, but there's guys pressuring me, and I might let them have a couple. But that'll order 1,000 frames, by the time I get around to it.
Did you get a commercial count set up with Man Lake yet?
Not yet. I've got a count there, but not commercial. I've got a young Amish boy that's got one. Is down the road. It kind of hinders me from getting commercially with him. And he's got a pretty good price on him, so I can't buy it cheaper than he can get them from him. But everybody's pestering me. One of these days, if one of the kids want to get in, I don't want to get into all this selling other stuff. I got enough time, not enough time, but
well, yeah. Stephen did it and built a lot of boxes for probably 3 years. And after that, you just don't have time. You have to weigh making $1 or making $20. So
yeah,
the $20 always rules out.
Yeah. Well, my back's not as good as it used to be. I'd rather go pick up a queen than handle a bunch of wood.
That's right.
And if I can get my boys interested, I'll turn them loose. They look at them, but one got stung here 30 days ago and took them $3,000 to get over it. Whew. And the other one hadn't made up his mind yet. But it is what it is. But I was just curious.
Okay. And over to Todd. Go ahead, Todd. You're still muted.
Oh,
there you go.
An FYI for anybody that's watching this later on down the road, I already sent a notice to Greg, but just kind of looking around on Man Lake, they're selling a 10-pound pail of Ultra B for, I don't know, like 29 something. And you go on to Amazon, they're selling that same 10-pound bucket for $77. So it's crazy. I don't know how they can get away with doing that price, but I'm sure I'll just order it on Amazon. Well, you can, but you're going to lose $50. So, or $40. But yeah, it's crazy right now. Sugar around here it's starting to get scarce again. I mean, this just silliness is all it is. So that's all I had to say.
Well, the best thing to do is try to find someone that buys in bulk and buy, corn syrup from them. I mean, it takes less corn syrup and they build a lot faster.
Yeah,
And you don't have that wasted time mixing sugar.
yeah. No, I'm trying to figure that part out right now. At least I have a little time on my hands with winter, but I'm gonna have to do something in a few months.
Well, if you're going to expand out, you probably heard other people last year. Don't wait till the last minute. If you need spring build up, get them ordered now
Yeah,
because they're going to come hard to come by in another 2 months.
yeah,
We usually, when we put our order in, we try to order at least 2 to 3 weeks ahead, and we can usually get pretty good delivery. And I've had other people say, we can't get no order. I call up and I'll have it usually within a week, but it's a difference between buying, some people buy 10, 20 frames and they think that's a lot of frames. We buy several thousand and that's still not enough. The last order, I think, was 7,000 or 8,000 frames.
That's a lot of frames. They go quick though.
Oh yeah. Stock up. And if you're grafting now, I mean, now get your web page up and advertise that you're going to have, extra ripe queen cells.
One of the things I wanted to ask you is what, and I kind of know what you're going to say, but for a commercial student, what, and I've asked Greg this too, but what part of the year is the best time to get over to see you?
Well, I'm not being smart, but what's the worst time that you're going to work your bees? You're going to work them 12 months of the year? I mean, I've had people come and I say, well, go weed whack around some hives. Well, I didn't come here to do that. So, I just tell them, you can let your yard grow up. So, springtime, it gets boring. Building 2 or 3 boxes is one thing. Building 200 or 300, that's another thing. It's like those mini frames. They're boring to build, but you got to build 1,000 of them at a time, and then you got to wax them. That takes time. So people, they want to do commercial, but they don't understand there's a lot of work.
No, I understand that. And I figured, you know what, the plains are probably the cleanest they've ever been in history. So why not get over there,
Yeah.
Before they get dirty again. So I'll get over there.
But there, I tell people all the time, you watch the videos, listen to chats, you can learn. All I'm doing is repeating a lot of stuff over and over. I mean, you have to pick up the frame, you got to handle it, you got to experience it. That's how you learn.
Yeah. No, I'm particularly interested in getting over there when you're grafting, but I just don't know the best timing for that.
If you come probably February, March, we'll probably turn 500 to 800 queen cells probably every 3 days.
Okay.
Maybe more. I know, Stephen, we was looking at our refrigerator. We got a converted refrigerator, and we can do like 500, 600, and it's too small. So we got to do some modifications or put another one in. You got to have more.
That's a good problem.
You're going to use.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Don.
Okay.
Next up is Billy. Go ahead, Billy.
Hey, Don, I found a man lake store about 2 hours from a lake house I have, so I can go up there and get the Pro Sweet 77 bulk.
Yeah.
Now, is that a lot better than the sugar itself, the regular granulated sugar?
Oh yeah. I mean, Greg was using sugar for a long time, and then he started the corn syrup. He can tell you personally the difference it makes.
Yeah, I did see that chat where y'all were talking about it, saying how much better it did. I'm just wondering how much I'm gonna need of this.
Well, how long is it taking you to mix sugar now?
It takes a little bit.
Okay, what's your time worth?
Well, well, I'm retired, so my time's pretty.
Still worth something.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just like how much of that would they utilize towards instead of sugar? I mean, like if you're using 55 gallons of sugar water versus the Pro Suite. Do you understand my question?
I look at it as it goes about a 60 pound pail should give you equal out about 250 or a little more pounds of sugar, and the convenience of mixing it you save.
Okay. Okay, that's good. to
Now
know.
you could take and cut it 50%, but we found even cutting it, it's better off just to put it straight. You don't have dripping. Everything's more controlled. They build faster. You got to remember, they put water there. They spend more time evaporating water out too. And then
Right,
if you got cold nights, you got moisture problem.
Yeah, and that's what I found with those bucket pails was that I had a lot of drippage off the sugar water,
Yeah.
which absconded one of the hives. So this Pro Suite is thick enough to where it shouldn't do it as bad.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, good deal. Thanks.
Okay.
And last question for tonight will be Melissa. Go ahead, Melissa.
Hey, I just wanted to say about taking Don's classes. Yeah, you can learn a lot by watching the videos, but there's more that you get when you go down there and experience it for yourself.
Mhm.
So just a plug to your classes, Don. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Well, you learned something the first day in your grafting class?
Absolutely. I learned a lot. Enough to come
I
home
mean,
and make
some
my
people
own.
get it in 2 days.
I'm sorry, you broke up. What?
Some people can get it in 1 day, some take 2 days to get it, but you know, all we're doing is showing you how to ride a bicycle. Then you got to practice riding.
Yep. I made my own jig. I made my own queen cups. I'm working on my nuke boxes. I'm on my way.
Yep.
Nice.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right, then that'll do it for tonight. So thank you, Don. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Have a
Thanks
good
for
night, Don.
hosting. Good night.